Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Video Clips. And during the last few weeks on Wednesdays, I've been sharing just some of my own personal information and what's going on in my life with regard to COVID, and it seems to resonate. I know a lot of you guys write to me, you send cards and letters, and I enjoy hearing your perspective on all of this. So I'm going to continue on with that today. And today I have maybe a little bit different take on things than I have had recently. I just want to talk about staying strong, which can be increasingly more difficult during these times. Now, I think I sometimes come off to people as someone who doesn't have to think about this very much, but I think we all have to think about it. I mean, I can be as bothered by some things as anybody else. And I think one of the things we're all bothered about right now is that life is more difficult. I mean, even going shopping for groceries can be a pain in the rear end. And many of our relationships have been strained or severed. So I don't think any of us are immune. I think we would be worried about ourselves if we didn't have any response to all of this. So I think it's a normal human response. So I just want to just say as a foundational thing here, I've spent months reviewing the data concerning the situation we're in. And people who are a whole lot more smart and qualified than me, like John Ioannidis and his group at Stanford, well, my gosh, they've invested much more time and arrived at the same conclusion, essentially. And that gives me some reassurance that I'm not crazy. Sometimes I read some of what they write. I think, yes, there are really qualified people out there who've arrived at the same conclusion. It's not just me. And all of us, I think we can collectively say, we're not basing our decisions and analysis of this on instinct or choosing sides or personal preference or wishful thinking. It's based on data. And those of you who read Monday's Forbidden Newsletter article, no, it's just all about data. It is what it is. So we feel certain based on numbers and number crunching and research. And many of you have done your own research. I love when I hear from you and you say, I consulted with my health department, I called hospitals, whatever, and I found the same thing. All right, so we know we're right. We know that we didn't make this up. We know that we're not skewing data. It is what it is. But we still feel a little devastated when we lose a friend over this. We still feel uneasy when somebody makes a snarky comment about masks. And we still feel uncomfortable saying thanks but no thanks to a Thanksgiving gathering that involves eating in the garage or wearing a mask or hazmat suit at the dinner table. I know I do, and I'm a pretty strong person overall. So while I was thinking about all of this during this week, I was just thinking about why is it that you have this bothered feeling after some of these things happen? Because I have it. I mean, again, I think I would worry about any of you who said, oh, nothing bothers me. Well, we're all bothered. So then I came across this article that I thought was interesting. And here's the title of the article: Antifragility as we train ourselves to improve. There are several ways to make sure our difficulties lead to strength rather than stagnation. And the author is Leo Balbada. And so it's a long article, and you may be able to find it online, but I'm just going to share some highlights with you from the article and what I think they mean to us during these times that we're living in right now. Black Swan and Antifragile are books written by Nicholas Taleb. And both of these books, Taleb talks about human-made systems and the fact that they're fragile. Thus, when they stress, they fall apart. But stress ultimately makes systems stronger. And a good example from everyday life is exercise. When you exercise, it stresses your body by breaking down muscle tissue. But then when we recover from exercise, the muscles are stronger and our bones are stronger too. So stress breaks down, and rebuilding and recovering makes us stronger. So always looking for the silver lining in the cloud, that's kind of my personality. I've decided that one of the benefits of the situation that we're in, at least for me, is it's toughening me up a little bit. And maybe we all need a little bit of this. So what does this mean and how do we go about it? Well, Balbada first recommends that we eliminate things that make us fragile. He suggests that these include smoking, unhealthy diet, negative thinking, and being super hurt or mad when receiving criticism from others. In other words, he says the foundation for not being fragile and getting stronger is you have to build a strong body and a strong mind. I know I work very hard at that every day. I have been for a long time, and many of you are doing that too. Then we have to prepare ourselves for stress that can make us stronger, expect stress and welcome stress, and learn how to become more resilient with each stressful experience we have. Instead of seeing stress as a negative, reframe it as something we need, just like exercise, to become better and stronger. He also suggests that we should deliberately take risks often. Now, during these times, this might mean being out shopping without a mask and subject to criticism as a result of it, or it might mean that you tell somebody what you think instead of listening to nonsense really quietly and just walking away. And I'm not talking about screaming at people. I'm talking about making thoughtful comments back to people. So I've been taking risks during this entire time. I mean, one example is creating these videos and writing a newsletter every week and writing a book about this topic. What's changing is not that I'm starting to take risks, because I've been doing that. What's changing for me, and I've noticed it changing, and I'm starting to embrace the fact that it's happening per this guy's article, is my response to criticism. I have, for the most part, learned not to be bothered by it and to ignore it. Now, I'll give you some examples. I used to just feel compelled to write back a response to people who emailed me with criticism. Now, I'm going to exempt from this people who write presenting facts, or who ask me a question or question my judgment on something. I think that's all fair game. Or people who are respectful, or who just say, sometimes we have to agree to disagree. I'm talking about the people who did the equivalent of screaming via email. I actually had a physician this past week who sent me a screaming email, don't you know people are dying of COVID? Okay, well, that's really thoughtful. I would expect that I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. I mean, does that mean you disagree with me? And if so, where's your data and all that? Well, I've just made a decision that I'm not responding to that kind of stuff anymore. In fact, I tag it all as junk. I don't even see it because it goes into my junk file, and it isn't worth my time. And I think that's like a big thing for me to do. And it may seem funny to you, but I always felt like I should respond, and I don't need to respond. There's no reason to respond. I need to just say, these people are nuts, and write them off, all right? I used to feel compelled to keep relationships at all costs. This is long back in my history. I mean, there should always be a way to work things out, negotiation and compromise and conversation and discussion, and we have to find a way to find common ground. Well, that doesn't always work, no more. I mean, we've lost one teacher, one affiliate, 3 clients, probably for every person who's gone off the subscriber list, about 3,000 have come on. So, let's just call it what it is. Some people don't like me, some people don't like us, some people don't want to hear from us. Okay. I just feel like, and of course I have a handful of friends who are hiding in the basement waiting for government instructions, and we're just agreeing to disagree. And so there you have it. All right. I just don't worry about it anymore. I have stopped thinking that I need to find a way to continue a relationship with everybody. I don't. Many of and I've been not talking about this for a long time, but since we're just all into disclosure now, I tell you, not everything, but a lot of things. Many of my plant-based colleagues are former colleagues now. Frankly, I think that was coming for a while anyway. But also, frankly, it's better to be disconnected from people who don't look at data, particularly if they claim to be in the healthcare business. During the last 25 years, I've stood for a fact-based approach to healthcare. And colleagues who don't use facts are a liability when you call them colleagues. And so I guess the other thing I've realized is how fragile some of those relationships were. And at one point in time, this would have been devastating. Not now. It's the resilience. It's recognizing that sometimes it's time to move on. And I don't mean this in a, heck with you, and I don't have any anger about this at all. I have a peace and calm about everything these days, which can, based on the firestorm I live in with lawsuits and all that kind of stuff, is kind of amazing to think about. But it's true. I think that what I'm saying is that I think that this whole thing has trained the last of the people pleasing out of me. The last of the feeling that I have to belong to this tribe or that tribe or what. I just don't feel like that anymore. I don't. And it's a wonderful, freeing experience. And it represents a big step in developing more backbone and, you know, and just growing up, you know what I mean? So Balbada suggests that maybe we should intentionally insert stress into our lives. And I don't think he means going out and looking for trouble. And I don't mean that either, but rather looking for growth through experiences that we anticipate as being uncomfortable and are likely to procrastinate. So as we forge ahead during these ridiculous times we're in, don't be afraid and don't avoid people, places, things, situations. Take risks, learn from what happens, and get better as a result of each experience. And, you know, surviving difficult situations is something to celebrate, actually. We get better, we get stronger. Stress breaks us down, and resilience brings resolving that stress makes us stronger. As you get stronger, think about, here's something that you might want to challenge yourself with. As you get stronger, think about other things in your life that you might take on now that you had been avoiding for a long time. I mean, the book you might want to write, or the career change you fantasized about, but you've been procrastinating doing something about it, or the life that you really want to lead, but so far you haven't transitioned to, you know? It's difficult to stay positive during this whole situation, and we all have our moments, me too. But my grandmother used to say that successful people take lemons and turn them into lemonade. And I think COVID-19 is a monstrous lemon, but perhaps it's going to lead to a giant amount of sweet lemonade to be savored by all of us. And I've said this before many times to the people. I think that one fine day, sometime in the future, we might all look back and say, what an awful situation, and how awful that so many people were harmed so much. And thankfully, it didn't maybe affect us as much as others. And now we have a lot of work to do. But having said that, maybe we will say good things came out of it. And that's kind of up to us, whether or not that's what we say, or conversely, if we say, well, it devastated us. It's impossible to avoid all devastation, but we can chart our own course. All right, that's it for today. Pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy watching or learning more about this whole situation, and I will be back to you tomorrow with more news.